There are times in life when you feel something just isn't right. You can't quite put your finger on it, but deep down you sense that someone isn't being truthful, isn't being genuine. They speak with charm, but their actions don't match their words. They demand admiration, but offer no real connection. They promise support, but leave you feeling drained. My friend, that's not love. That's not kindness. That's manipulation. And today we're going to learn how to expose it. When it comes to understanding narcissism, one of the most important skills you can develop is the ability to recognize the red flags. Narcissists are often skilled manipulators, and they have a way of making you question your perception of reality. Their behavior is calculated, and they rarely reveal their true intentions up front. However, by becoming aware of their patterns, you can protect yourself from being drawn into their web. Recognizing these red flags early can save you from unnecessary heartache and confusion down the road. One of the most glaring red flags is the narcissist's tendency to always seek admiration and validation. They have an insatiable need to be seen as special, superior, and deserving of attention. This constant need for admiration can show up in various ways, but it's often disguised as innocent compliments or exaggerated humility. For example, a narcissist might tell you how much they've accomplished, but they do it in a way that's not just to share their success, but to elevate themselves above others. They want to make sure you understand that they are more important, more capable, and more deserving of praise than anyone else around them. It's as if their self-worth is tied entirely to how others view them. If you find yourself constantly needing to inflate their ego or compliment them just to keep the peace, that's a major red flag. Another major sign to watch for is how they treat others, especially those they perceive as weaker or less influential. Narcissists tend to be incredibly charming and kind when they need something from someone, but once they no longer see a person as useful, their true nature emerges. They may disregard or even belittle people who have no value to them. If you observe a narcissist treating waitstaff, employees, or anyone who can't offer them something with disdain, it's a clear indication of how they will treat you once the novelty of your relationship wears off. They are often very transactional in their relationships, only valuing others based on what they can get from them. This lack of empathy for others reveals the narcissist's true self-centeredness. You may also notice a pattern of manipulation when it comes to their emotions. Narcissists are experts at controlling the feelings of others, often by making you feel responsible for their emotional state. They will accuse you of making them upset, guilty of their unhappiness, or responsible for their anger. This is known as emotional manipulation, and it's one of the most insidious forms of narcissistic behavior. They use guilt and shame to keep you off balance, questioning your own actions and emotions. By making you feel like you're always in the wrong, they create an environment where they are always the victim and you are always the villain. In this way, they maintain control of the relationship. Gaslighting is another classic tactic used by narcissists to make you doubt your own perception of reality. If you've ever been in a situation where someone denies something they've said or done, even when you know it's true, you've experienced gaslighting. Narcissists will make you feel like you're crazy even though you're not. They twist the truth, deny facts, and often use contradictions to confuse and control you. For example, they might say something hurtful to you one day, then act as if it never happened the next, insisting that you're imagining things. Over time, this type of behavior erodes your confidence in yourself and your understanding of what is real and what isn't. Narcissists are also known for their inability to take responsibility for their actions. Whenever something goes wrong, they'll shift the blame onto someone else. They will rarely, if ever, apologize sincerely or acknowledge their own faults. Instead, they will justify their actions or make excuses, refusing to take ownership of any mistake. If they do apologize, it's often only because they've been caught, and the apology is more about preserving their image than it is about genuine remorse. This lack of accountability can make you feel as if you're constantly walking on eggshells, never knowing when the next attack or shift in blame will come. Lastly, narcissists have an uncanny ability to make you feel like you're walking on a roller coaster of emotions. At one moment, they will shower you with affection, praise, and love, and the next, they will withdraw, criticize, or ignore you completely. This back and forth can leave you feeling confused, exhausted, and unsure of where you stand with them. Their love is often conditional, based on how well you feed their ego and how useful you are to them in that moment. This inconsistency can be emotionally draining, leaving you constantly seeking their approval while never quite feeling secure or valued for who you truly are. When you learn to recognize these red flags, you start to see the narcissist for who they truly are. A person who seeks to control, manipulate, and dominate others to serve their own self-interest. The more you understand their behavior, the less likely you are to fall victim to their tactics. It's essential to trust your instincts when you sense that something feels off. Pay attention to how they treat others, how they respond to challenges, and whether they ever take responsibility for their actions. These are the signs that can help you see through the mask of charm and identify the true character of the person standing before you. See, the most effective ways to expose a narcissist is by testing their reactions to various situations. Narcissists are often great at hiding their true nature behind a facade of charm and charisma, but when you put them in a position where their ego or control is threatened, their true behavior starts to emerge. Testing their reactions doesn't mean you need to engage in a direct confrontation, but rather you can subtly introduce scenarios that challenge their ability to maintain their image or sense of superiority. How they respond in these moments reveals a lot about who they really are. The first step in testing a narcissist is by introducing a slight challenge to their need for admiration. Narcissists thrive on constant validation and praise, and they expect the world to revolve around their needs and desires. When you subtly withhold the constant stream of admiration that they typically demand, you'll notice how they react. For instance, if they tell you about an accomplishment, try not to immediately jump in with enthusiastic praise or admiration. Instead, stay neutral or give a response that acknowledges the achievement without inflating their ego. A narcissist will often react strongly to this. They might become frustrated, dismissive, or even lash out, feeling as though they're being ignored or not given the recognition they believe they deserve. This test highlights how fragile their self-esteem truly is and how much of their identity relies on external validation. Another effective test is to challenge their sense of control. Narcissists have a deep need to control their environment and the people around them, often manipulating situations to suit their needs. One way to test their reaction is to assert yourself in a way that disrupts their desired control. For example, if they try to dictate the direction of a conversation or relationship, you can gently push back by offering a different opinion or stance. Pay attention to how they respond when their authority is questioned. A healthy person may respectfully acknowledge your perspective and move forward, but a narcissist will likely become defensive, attempt to dominate the conversation, or even belittle you to reassert their control. They might accuse you of being difficult or ungrateful, attempting to manipulate you back into submission. Their inability to tolerate even small challenges to their control reveals how fragile their sense of power truly is. Testing a narcissist's reaction to criticism, even if it's constructive, is another way to expose their true nature. Narcissists are incredibly sensitive to criticism, and their response to even the most minor critique can be telling. They often view any form of criticism as an attack on their identity and will react disproportionately. For instance, if you offer a suggestion or point out an error they made, observe their response. A healthy person may acknowledge the mistake and take responsibility, but a narcissist will likely respond with defensiveness, deflection, or anger. They may try to turn the tables and make you feel guilty for even mentioning their flaws. Alternatively, they might attempt to minimize or deny their mistake, refusing to admit that they were wrong. If they can't tolerate even mild criticism without becoming hostile or dismissive, it shows their deep insecurity and lack of emotional maturity. Another way to test their reactions is by seeing how they treat people they perceive as beneath them, or those they have no use for. Narcissists often put on a charming facade when they're around people who can elevate their status or provide them with something, but their true character shows when they interact with people who have nothing to offer them. For example, observe how they treat service workers, wait staff, or anyone in a position of less power. A narcissist may act as though they're above. They may act as if these individuals are invisible, unimportant, or deserving of less courtesy simply because they don't serve the narcissist's ego. If you notice this behavior, it's a clear indication that the narcissist is more concerned with their own sense of superiority than with treating others with dignity and respect. Narcissists are also known for their manipulative tactics, so it's important to test their reactions when they realize they can't manipulate you. One way to do this is by setting clear, firm boundaries. Narcissists thrive on pushing boundaries and bending the rules to suit their needs. If you set a boundary, whether it's about your time, your emotions, or your space, watch how they react. A narcissist will often test the boundaries you set, either by trying to guilt you into giving in, or by pretending to respect your boundaries only to cross them later. If you stand firm and don't give in to their manipulation, you'll notice a reaction. They may become angry, passive-aggressive, or try to make you feel unreasonable. This response is a clear indication of their manipulative nature and their need to control everything around them. Finally, testing a narcissist's reaction to empathy or vulnerability can also be revealing. Narcissists typically lack genuine empathy and may struggle to connect with the emotional needs of others. If you open up to them about something personal or vulnerable, observe their response. A narcissist might dismiss your feelings, change the subject, or shift the focus back onto themselves. Instead of offering support or understanding, they may make you feel as though your emotions are unimportant or inconvenient. This lack of empathy is a clear sign that they are more interested in serving their own needs than in genuinely caring for others. By testing a narcissist's reactions in these various scenarios, you can uncover their true nature. Narcissists may appear charming, confident, and in control, but when their ego is challenged or their manipulation is thwarted, their true behavior emerges. Pay attention to their reactions and trust your instincts. This is how you can expose their deception and protect yourself from their toxic influence. One of the most telling signs of a narcissist is the inconsistency in their words and actions. Narcissists are skilled at presenting themselves in one light to gain admiration, but their behavior often contradicts their carefully curated persona. These inconsistencies may not always be glaring at first, but over time, they begin to reveal the narcissist's true character. By watching for these discrepancies, you can gain a clearer understanding of who they really are and how they manipulate their image to suit their needs. A narcissist's inconsistency often starts with the stories they tell. At first glance, they may appear to have a fascinating, well-lived life full of extraordinary achievements and experiences. They'll recount tales of their success, their influence, and the admiration they've garnered over the years. However, as you continue to listen and ask questions, you might notice contradictions in their stories. They may tell you one version of an event one day, only to change key details or even the entire narrative the next time you discuss it. They might paint themselves as the hero in every situation, but when further scrutinized, the story doesn't add up. These inconsistencies in their storytelling reveal their need to constantly alter reality to serve their ego and maintain their illusion of greatness. The more you pay attention to these contradictions, the clearer it becomes that their stories are fabricated or exaggerated to enhance their image. In addition to their tales, narcissists often exhibit discrepancies between what they say and what they do. They may make grand promises or express intentions to follow through on certain commitments, but their actions fail to align with their words. For example, a narcissist might claim they are committed to helping others, but when it comes time to take real action, they are nowhere to be found. They might vow to be supportive, but when you need them most, they are absent or uninterested. This disconnect between their words and actions is a classic trait of narcissistic behavior. They talk a big game, but when the time comes to back it up, their true intentions are revealed. The narcissist's behavior is often governed by self-interest, and when it no longer serves them to follow through on their promises, they conveniently forget or make excuses. Another key inconsistency lies in their treatment of others. A narcissist often presents a charming, flattering, and engaging demeanor when they are trying to win someone over or gain something from them. However, once they no longer see value in a person, or if that person fails to feed their ego, their behavior changes dramatically. This can be seen in the way they treat service staff, wait staff, or anyone in a position they deem beneath them. In these moments, the narcissist's true colors emerge. They may become rude, dismissive, or condescending, treating those who are not in a position to give them anything as unworthy of respect. The inconsistency between how they treat people based on their perceived value is a red flag. A person who is genuinely empathetic and kind treats everyone with respect, regardless of what they can get out of them. The narcissist's selective treatment of others exposes their self-centeredness and the discrepancy between their words of kindness and their actions. When a narcissist is confronted with criticism or conflict, their reaction often reveals another layer of inconsistency. They may claim to be open to feedback and constructive criticism, positioning themselves as open-minded and willing to grow. However, when criticism is directed at them, they often react defensively or aggressively. A narcissist's inability to accept even mild criticism exposes the gap between their claims of humility and their true sensitivity to anything. They may deflect blame, belittle others, or attack the person giving the feedback rather than engage in self-reflection or consider how they can improve. Their reaction to criticism is often disproportionate, revealing how deeply their identity is tied to external validation and how fragile their ego is. Another aspect of inconsistency in a narcissist's behavior is the way they manage their relationships. They may boast about how much they value loyalty, honesty, and connection, but when they find someone who no longer serves their interests or challenges their sense of control, they discard them without hesitation. They may not show any remorse or guilt for ending a relationship if they feel it no longer feeds their ego or gives them the admiration they crave. This inconsistency between their professed values and their actual actions shows their lack of genuine emotional connection to others. Narcissists see people as tools to be used and discarded, and their treatment of others is largely dependent on what those individuals can do for them. Additionally, narcissists often shift their behavior depending on the situation or the people they are around. They may present a different version of themselves to different groups, tailoring their persona to fit the expectations of those they are interacting with. For example, they may be outgoing and charismatic in social settings to gain attention, but become distant or cold when the focus is no longer on them. This ability to shape-shift based on the environment is a clear sign of inconsistency. It reveals their need to maintain control over how they are perceived and to ensure that they always appear in the best light possible, even if it means being two-faced or manipulative. A person with genuine integrity doesn't need to constantly alter their behavior to match their surroundings. They remain true to themselves no matter who they are with. When you begin to notice these inconsistencies in a narcissist's behavior, it becomes increasingly difficult to ignore the cracks in their facade. The more you observe their contradictions, the more you can see through the illusion they've carefully constructed. Their inconsistency is a reflection of their inner instability, and their behavior is driven by an overwhelming need to maintain an image of superiority rather than being rooted in genuine integrity. Recognizing these discrepancies gives you the clarity to see a narcissist for who they truly are and avoid being manipulated by their distorted version of reality. Setting boundaries with a narcissist is one of the most important steps in protecting your emotional well-being and maintaining a healthy sense of self. Narcissists are notorious for disregarding the personal limits of others, as their sense of entitlement often leads them to believe they can take whatever they want, whenever they want it. By setting clear boundaries, you are asserting your needs and showing that you will not tolerate disrespect or manipulation. However, setting boundaries is only half of the equation. The other half is observing how the narcissist reacts to these limits. Their response to boundaries will reveal much about their true nature and your relationship with them. When you first set boundaries with a narcissist, it is essential to be firm and consistent. Narcissists are often very good at testing limits and pushing the boundaries set by others. They may try to disregard your boundaries entirely, making excuses, or even manipulating you into thinking that your boundaries are unreasonable. At this point, it's crucial to stand firm and not waver. If you allow them to breach your boundaries even once, it sets a precedent that you can be manipulated into giving in. It's important to remember that setting boundaries is a form of self-respect, and allowing someone to continuously disrespect those boundaries is a violation of your own well-being. One of the most common tactics narcissists use when confronted with boundaries is guilt tripping. They might accuse you of being selfish, uncaring, or unreasonable. They may attempt to play the victim, making you feel like you are the one at fault for asserting your own need. For example, if you set a boundary by telling them you won't tolerate rude behavior or manipulation, they might respond by saying, "I can't believe you treat me like this after everything I've done for you." They might even resort to gaslighting, making you question whether your boundary is valid or whether you're overreacting. Narcissists will often try to turn the situation around so that you feel guilty for standing up for yourself. This is where observing their behavior becomes crucial. If you notice this pattern of guilt tripping or manipulation, it's a clear sign that the narcissist is more interested in controlling you than respecting your boundaries. Another common response from narcissists when boundaries are set is rage or indignation. Narcissists often feel entitled to the attention, time, and energy of others, and when they don't get what they want, they can become angry or hostile. They may become furious at the fact that you are no longer accommodating their needs or giving them the attention they crave. This reaction can range from passive-aggressive behavior to outright aggression, depending on the individual. They may try to intimidate you into backing down or punish you by withdrawing affection, attention, or communication. This response is a clear indication of their inability to respect personal boundaries and their lack of emotional maturity. Their rage is often a reflection of their fragile ego, as they cannot tolerate being told no or being reminded that they do not control everything around them. It's important to remain steadfast and not get drawn into their emotional outbursts. Recognize that their anger is not a reflection of your actions, but of their inability to accept limitations. Narcissists may also use charm and manipulations as a way to bypass boundaries. If they see that their usual tactics aren't working, they might shift strategies and try to win you over with flattery, compliments, or promises of change. They might tell you that they understand your boundaries now and that they are willing to respect them, at least for a while. This behavior is often temporary and is crucial to observe whether their actions align with their words. If they continue to violate your boundaries once they think you've let your guard down, it's a sign that their promises were not genuine, but rather a manipulation tactic designed to regain control. They might even start using their charm to make you feel sorry for them, asking for just one more chance, or making you believe they are the victim of an unfair situation. The narcissist's ability to switch from rage to charm reveals how they view relationships, not as genuine connections, but as tools for fulfilling their own needs and desires. An essential aspect of setting boundaries with a narcissist is recognizing when they try to redefine those boundaries for you. Narcissists are often skilled at reframing situations to make it seem as if their behavior is acceptable or even justified. For example, they may suggest that you're being unreasonable or overly sensitive, undermining your right to set the boundary in the first place. If you allow them to redefine your boundaries, you lose control of the situation and open the door for further manipulation. This is why it's so important to remain clear about what you need and why those boundaries are in place. The more you assert your needs and refuse to let the narcissist manipulate the situation, the more they will reveal their true colors. While it can be incredibly difficult to set and enforce boundaries with a narcissist, doing so is essential for maintaining your sense of self. If you consistently observe how the narcissist reacts to your boundaries, you will begin to see patterns in their behavior. Are they consistently respectful, or do they continue to test your limits? Do they try to manipulate you with guilt, anger, or charm? These reactions are the key to understanding the narcissist's true nature. A person who respects your boundaries does so without complaint or manipulation. They understand that your needs are just as valid as their own, and that a healthy relationship is built on mutual respect. Narcissists, on the other hand, view boundaries as obstacles to be overcome or ignored rather than as something that should be respected. In the end, the way a narcissist responds to boundaries can teach you everything you need to know about the relationship. If they repeatedly test, challenge, or ignore your boundaries, it's a clear indication that they're not interested in a healthy, balanced relationship. They want control, and your boundaries are a threat to that control. Observing their behavior in response to your limits can help you make an informed decision about whether this relationship is worth continuing or whether it's time to move on for the sake of your emotional well-being. Engaging in fact-based conversations with a narcissist is one of the most effective ways to reveal their inconsistencies and manipulation tactics. Narcissists thrive on emotional arguments, half-truths, and exaggerations to maintain control over a narrative. They rely on confusion, gaslighting, and deception to keep others off balance, making it difficult to pin them down on any specific issue. However, when you remove emotions from the conversation and stick to objective facts, you take away their ability to manipulate and distort reality. The way a narcissist responds to a fact-based discussion can reveal much about their true nature and their unwillingness to engage in honest, logical dialogue. When engaging a narcissist in a fact-based conversation, it's important to remain calm and composed. Narcissists often attempt to provoke emotional reactions to shift the focus away from facts. Mr. Bitcoin on the heels, tomatoes, CNBC. They may try to anger you, frustrate you, or make you feel guilty so that the conversation moves into an emotional space where they can regain control. By maintaining a steady, neutral tone and refusing to be drawn into emotional arguments, you take away their ability to manipulate through drama. Sticking to facts forces them to deal with objective reality, something they are not comfortable with because it limits their ability to rewrite the narrative in their favor. One of the most effective ways to expose a narcissist through fact-based conversations is by holding them accountable for their own words and actions. Narcissists frequently contradict themselves, changing their stance depending on what serves them best at the moment. By keeping track of past statements, commitments, or actions, you can bring up direct evidence when they attempt to deny or change their story. For example, if they once claimed they would handle a certain responsibility, but later deny ever agreeing to it, you can remind them of the exact time and place they made the commitment. If possible, referencing messages, emails, or written agreements can further strengthen your position. The key is to remain calm and simply present the facts without engaging in accusations or emotional attacks. When confronted with hard evidence, a narcissist will often try to deflect, change the subject, or accuse you of misremembering. But their inability to engage honestly with the facts will become apparent. Another strategy in fact-based conversations is asking clear, direct questions that require straightforward answers. Narcissists often use vague language, evasive responses, or long-winded explanations to avoid accountability. They might go off on tangents or answer a different question than the one that was asked. To counter this, you can ask questions that require a simple yes or no response or factual clarification. For example, if they made a claim that seems exaggerated or inconsistent, you can ask, can you provide a specific example of when this happened? Or, where did you get this information? By pressing for specific details rather than allowing them to speak in generalities, you force them to either back up their claims with evidence or expose the fact that they are fabricating information. It's also helpful to recognize when a narcissist is using logical fallacies or manipulation techniques to avoid engaging in a factual discussion. They may resort to personal attacks, shifting blame, or playing the victim instead of addressing the actual issue. For instance, if you call out an inconsistency in their story, they might say, I can't believe you would question me like this after everything I've done for you, rather than responding to the point directly. This tactic is meant to make you feel guilty and shift the conversation away from the facts. Recognizing these diversions allows you to calmly redirect the conversation back to the issue at hand. You can say, I understand how you feel, but I'm asking about the specific statement you made earlier. Can you clarify? By refusing to engage in emotional manipulation and keeping the conversation centered on facts, you make it harder for the narcissist to control the narrative. One of the biggest challenges in fact-based conversations with narcissists is their tendency to rewrite history. They often deny past actions, distort events, or even claim that things happened differently than they actually did. This can be incredibly frustrating, especially if you don't have documented proof of what really occurred. When faced with this behavior, rather than arguing over their version of events, you can simply restate the facts as you know them and refuse to engage in a back and forth debate. For example, if they claim they never said something that you clearly remember, you can say, "I recall it, but I understand that you see it another way." This statement prevents an unproductive argument while still asserting your perspective. In some cases, narcissists may attempt to overwhelm you with excessive detail, statistics, or convoluted explanations to make themselves seem more knowledgeable and discredit your position. This tactic, sometimes referred to as intellectual bullying, is designed to make you doubt yourself. When faced with this, you can simplify the conversation by asking, "Can you summarize that in 1 or 2 sentences?" Or, "What's the main point you're trying to make?" This forces them to distill their argument down to its core, making it easier to assess whether they are speaking truthfully or just trying to confuse and dominate the conversation. Ultimately, engaging in fact-based conversations with a narcissist is not about changing them or making them admit the truth. They rarely will. Instead, it's about protecting yourself from their manipulation and seeing through their tactics. Narcissists rely on emotional control, deception, and distortion to maintain power over others. But when you remove emotions and stick to logic, they lose much of their ability to manipulate. Their response to fact-based conversations, whether through defensiveness, deflection, or outright denial, exposes their unwillingness to engage in honest communication. By staying grounded in facts and refusing to be drawn into their games, you reclaim your power and maintain clarity in your interactions. A real opposition is not just a person, is one of the most revealing ways to understand their true character, especially when dealing with a narcissist. Narcissists are experts at managing their image and controlling how they appear in public, but their interactions with people they perceive as less valuable to them often reveal their authentic nature. While they may charm and flatter those they wish to impress, their behavior toward those they believe are beneath them, such as service workers, subordinates, or even family members, can expose the lack of genuine empathy and respect that defines their personality. A narcissist thrives on admiration and validation, which means they often go out of their way to make a great first impression. They can be charismatic, engaging, and highly persuasive when they want to win someone over. This is why, at first glance, they may appear kind, generous, or even selfless. However, this carefully crafted persona begins to fall apart when they interact with people they have no reason to impress. Watching how they treat individuals who cannot offer them anything in return, such as waiters, cashiers, or janitors, provides a glimpse into their true nature. If they are dismissive, rude, or even outright cruel to these individuals while maintaining a charming front with others, it is a sign that their kindness is conditional and purely self-serving. Another telling sign is how they behave in relationships where they feel they hold power. A narcissist often treats people differently based on their perceived level of importance. They may flatter and seek approval from those they admire or need something from, yet show contempt or indifference toward those they see as unimportant. This behavior becomes particularly evident in work environments or social settings where hierarchies exist. For example, a narcissistic boss may publicly praise higher-ups while belittling employees who work under them. They might act gracious and kind to colleagues of equal status, but become condescending or impatient with assistants or interns. Their selective kindness is not rooted in genuine decency, but in a desire to maintain their superiority and control over those around them. One of the most common traits of a narcissist is their inability to handle situations where they are not the center of attention. This often plays out in group settings where their interactions with others become a way to reinforce their own importance. If someone else in the group receives praise, a narcissist may downplay their achievements, interrupt conversations, or shift the focus back to themselves. Similarly, if they see someone else being treated with kindness or respect, they may attempt to undermine them through passive-aggressive remarks, backhanded compliments, or outright criticism. Their competitive nature prevents them from genuinely celebrating the successes of others, especially when they feel it threatens their own status. The way a narcissist responds to vulnerability in others is another crucial observation. Genuine empathy involves offering support, kindness, and understanding when someone is struggling. However, a narcissist may react with impatience, annoyance, or even mockery when confronted with another person's hardships. Instead of offering comfort, they may belittle the person's feelings, suggest they are being weak, or shift the conversation to their own problems. This lack of compassion stems from their deep-seated need to maintain superiority. They may feel that acknowledging another person's suffering takes the focus away from them, or that showing too much empathy makes them appear weak. On the other hand, if displaying empathy benefits their image, they may engage in performative kindness, offering help in a highly public way to receive admiration from others. However, this help is rarely sincere and often comes with expectations of praise or favors in return. A narcissist's interactions with close family members can also be incredibly revealing. Since they do not need to impress or win over family members the way they do with acquaintances or colleagues, their true nature often emerges in these relationships. They may be dismissive of a spouse's needs, impatient with their children, or controlling toward their siblings. They might use manipulation, guilt, or emotional blackmail to maintain dominance in family dynamics. If they frequently belittle or criticize family members while presenting a charming front to outsiders, it is a strong indication that their kindness is superficial and their true nature is self-centered and controlling. Another red flag is how a narcissist treats people who no longer serve their interests. If someone in their life can no longer provide validation, admiration, or resources, the narcissist's behavior toward them often shifts dramatically. They may suddenly become cold, indifferent, or even hostile toward former friends, partners, or colleagues. This pattern of discarding people once they are no longer useful is a hallmark of narcissistic behavior. They do not maintain relationships based on mutual care or respect, but rather on what they can extract from others. If someone ceases to provide them with the attention or benefits they seek, they will often cut them off without hesitation or make them feel as though they are no longer valuable. It is also worth noting how a narcissist reacts when someone else is in a position of authority over them. While they may attempt to charm those in power to gain favor, they can also display resentment, envy, or passive-aggressive behavior if they feel slighted or overlooked. They may subtly undermine authority figures, gossip about them behind their back, or look for ways to position themselves as superior. Their inability to handle being in a subordinate position often leads to conflicts in workplace settings. As they struggle with the idea of taking direction from others, this dynamic further highlights their need for dominance and control, making it clear that their kindness is only a means to an end. By paying close attention to how a narcissist treats others, especially those they do not need to impress, you gain valuable insight into their true character. Their behavior in situations where they have nothing to gain exposes the reality behind their carefully constructed facade. True kindness, empathy, and respect are consistent regardless of the audience or the potential benefits. A person who only treats others well when it serves their interests is not acting out of genuine decency, but out of self-preservation and manipulation. Understanding this dynamic allows you to see through their charm and avoid falling into the trap of believing they are someone they are not. Trusting your intuition is one of the most powerful tools you have when dealing with a narcissist. Often, long before you have concrete evidence that something is off, your intuition sends you subtle warnings. It might come as a feeling of discomfort, a sense that something doesn't add up, or an uneasiness in the way they treat you or others. Unfortunately, many people ignore these internal warnings, dismissing them as overreactions or irrational thoughts. However, intuition is your subconscious mind picking up on patterns, inconsistencies, and red flags that your conscious mind has not yet fully processed. By learning to trust these instincts, you can protect yourself from manipulation, deception, and emotional harm. One of the primary reasons people struggle to trust their intuition around narcissists is because narcissists are experts at creating a carefully controlled image. They know how to say the right things, act the right way, and present themselves as charming, intelligent, or even caring. Because of this, when your intuition senses something is wrong, your logical mind may override it, telling you that the person seems perfectly fine on the surface. This internal conflict can be confusing, especially if the narcissist is highly skilled at masking their true nature. However, intuition works beyond surface impressions. It detects subtle cues, body language, tone of voice, and micro-expressions that reveal when someone's words do not align with their true intentions. Another reason people dismiss their intuition is because narcissists are skilled at gaslighting. Gaslighting is a form of psychological manipulation that makes you doubt your own reality. A narcissist may contradict things they previously said, deny obvious truths, or tell you that you're imagining problems. If you express concerns about their behavior, they might say you're overreacting or being too sensitive. Over time, this constant invalidation can make you question whether your intuition is reliable. However, the very fact that you feel uncertain or confused is often a sign that something is wrong. Healthy relationships do not leave you feeling disoriented or doubting your own perceptions. If you find yourself frequently second-guessing your instincts around someone, that alone is a red flag. One of the ways intuition manifests is through physical sensations. Your body often reacts before your mind fully understands the situation. You might feel tension in your chest, a knot in your stomach, or an overall sense of unease when interacting with the narcissist. These physical reactions are not random. They are signals from your nervous system warning you of potential danger. Many people are conditioned to ignore these feelings, especially if there is no immediate logical explanation. However, those who learn to listen to their bodies can often avoid toxic situations before they escalate. If you consistently feel drained, anxious, or uncomfortable around a person, that is a sign that your intuition is picking up on something your rational mind has not yet fully processed. Another important aspect of trusting your intuition is recognizing when patterns repeat. Narcissists often follow predictable cycles of behavior. They may begin by showering you with attention, praise, or affection to gain your trust. Once they feel they have secured your admiration, they gradually start testing boundaries, using subtle put-downs, guilt trips, or manipulative tactics. If you sense a pattern where you feel uplifted one moment and devalued the next, your intuition is trying to tell you that this is not a healthy dynamic. The cycle of idealization and devaluation is a hallmark of narcissistic relationships, and recognizing it early can prevent deeper emotional entanglement. It is also important to differentiate between intuition and fear-based thinking. Intuition is a calm, persistent feeling that something is off, whereas fear tends to be reactionary and anxious. Fear often comes from past experiences, insecurities, or external influences, while intuition is rooted in subtle observations of the present moment. One way to strengthen your ability to trust your intuition is through self-reflection. When you feel uneasy about someone, take a step back and ask yourself, what specific behaviors or patterns are making me feel this way? Often when you analyze the situation, you will realize that your discomfort is not irrational. It is based on real signs you may have overlooked. Another powerful method for reinforcing your intuition is by gathering external confirmation. If you suspect someone is manipulative, observe how they interact with others. Do they consistently lack empathy? Do they dismiss or belittle people when they think no one is watching? Do others seem to experience the same confusion or emotional exhaustion that you do? Sometimes, hearing validation from others can reaffirm what your intuition has been telling you all along. However, even if no one else sees what you see, your intuition is still valid. Narcissists are skilled at fooling outsiders while revealing their true nature only in private interactions. It is also helpful to consider past experiences where your intuition was correct. Think back to times when you had a gut feeling about someone and later discovered that your instincts were accurate. Remembering these moments can strengthen your trust in yourself. Conversely, think about times when you ignored your intuition and regretted it. Many people who have been in toxic relationships recall early warning signs they dismissed, only to realize later that their intuition had been right all along. These reflections serve as reminders that your inner guidance system is often more reliable than external appearances. Trusting your intuition does not mean acting impulsively or making accusations without evidence. Instead, it means paying attention to your internal signals, gathering observations, and allowing yourself to step back when something feels wrong. If your intuition tells you that someone's words do not match their actions, that their kindness feels performative, or that their energy leaves you feeling uneasy, give yourself permission to create distance. You do not need absolute proof to protect your peace. Often, the very fact that you feel the need to question someone's sincerity is a sign that they are not being completely genuine. By learning to trust your intuition, you empower yourself to navigate relationships with clarity and confidence. Narcissists rely on confusion, self-doubt, and emotional manipulation to maintain control over others. When you strengthen your ability to trust yourself, you take away their power to distort your reality. Your intuition is your greatest defense against deception. And when you honor it, you reclaim your ability to make choices that serve your well-being.